Where then shall we find the difference between the patriarch Abraham and the god Saturn? Saturn was the son of Terra, and Abraham was the son of Terra. Saturn married his own sister, who was a star. Abraham married his own sister, whose name signifies a star. The name of the god Saturn is by the Phoenicians called Israel. The name of the patriarch Abraham is synonymous with the name Israel. Saturn had a great many sons, and yet had one particular son called Jud, which signified his only son. Abraham had a great many sons, both by his maid Agar, and his Keturah, as Ishmael and Zimran, and Jokshan, and Midian, and Medan, and Ishbak, and Shobak, and yet had an only son Isaac whom he loved. Saturn offered up his only son Jud as a burnt offering. Abraham was about to offer up his only son Isaac, as a burnt offering. Alas, you shall look for an essential difference between the two stories. But in vain, they are but two editions of one and the self-same fable. Now Isis, in Hebrew Asa, Issa, and Asa, is the moon, where primal matter was in watery shape. Abraham and Sarah are brother and sister, like Osiris and Isis. The Logos and its Sakti could always be represented as brother and sister, like Apollo and Diana or Minerva, or Adam and you are, in the hermaphrodite or hermathon. This completes the mythological parallelism between Osiris, Abraham, Rama, and Isis, Isha, Sarah, Sarasvati. The Egyptians held that the legends about Osiris and Isis and all their other mythological fables refer either to the stars, their appearances and occupations and the periods of their risings, or to the increase and decrease of the moon, or to the cycles of the sun, or the diurnal and nocturnal hemispheres, or to the river. Abraham, Isaac and Jacob are not historical personal beings. The three patriarchal eons, Elion, Uranus, and Cronus, specifically to the three descents of the first family of promise, in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, though we shall find that person of Cronus bears marks in himself of all the three histories. The very name Jew is probably mythological, derived from Jud, the name of the only son of Saturn, though, like Abraham, he had several other sons. It cannot be doubted that the stories of Saturn and Abraham are slightly varied versions of the same fable. Jud is the very Hebrew word used in the original to describe Isaac, and it signifies only legitimate son, not only son as our translation renders the word. Bel, Saturn, Mithra were the sun and Assyrian gods. Abraham and Israel were held to be names of Saturn by Dr. Movers, in his work on the Phoenicians. Abram was identified with the mythic Bel Saturn of the Semites. Abram and Israel, Saturn according to Philo, were found among the mythic kings of Damascus. The Mohammedan Arabians regarded Abraham as the Saturn in the Kaaba, the Hubal who was derived out of Syria, who was represented as an old man with 7 arrows or fates of destiny in his hand. The old Arab temple at Mecca had 360 statues surrounding that of Hubal the sun god. The Arabs anciently worshipped Saturn under the name of Hubal. In his hands he held 7 arrows, symbols of the planets that preside over the 7 days of the week. In this last reference a paradox of contradiction occurs. Saturn Hubal is holding 7 arrows, which represent the 7 known planets of the time, for if Saturn were the planet as claimed by many, how does it make sense that Saturn is at the center holding himself? In fact, it only makes sense if Saturn were the sun. The sun is Abraham, the moon Sarah, here too Sarah must be the moon, and the children or servants of Abraham must be the stars. The sun resembles Abraham, the moon Sarah, and the stars, Isaac's servants. Succeeding Abraham, we have another of these astronomical fables in the story of Jacob and his 12 sons. The 12 tribes are the 12 constellations. Dan is a serpent, Judah, a lion, Issachar, an ass, Benjamin, a wolf, Joseph, a branch, Zebulun, a ship, and so on. These tribes are astronomical signs, which may be found on the sphere, having Jacob, the son, as their father, and mothers, Leah, Zilpah, Rachel, and Bilhah, or 4 seasons, through which they are produced. Others more probably, Saturn, because the like worship and like sacrifices were used to him. I rather believe the sun was worshipped under that name by the Ammonites, as the king of heavens, for the word signifies king, and it is the same deity with Baal, or Bel, of the Assyrians and Sidonians, signifying Lord. Abram equals Abraham, the eponymous hero or ancestor of all the Israelitish or Jewish tribes. This name Abram or Abraham at once suggests the mythological nature of the history. It is one of the innumerable instances in which, in the ancient world, the son or a priest of the sun, was claimed to be the patriarch or first ruler or lawgiver of many nations. In Egypt Ra was the sun, and Osiris, an incarnation of the sun, was the first ruler there. Brahma was the first lawgiver of the Hindus, and there is little doubt that Brahman, as stated by Mr. Thompson, in his notes to the Bhagavad Gita, was originally a name for the sun. This word Ra, meaning bright, is contained not only in the Egyptian mythological names connected with the sun, but a long list might be given, in which it appears in the names of all the sun heroes of all the Indo-Aryan languages, just as the cognate word El, bright, appears, in the same way, in the names of the Semitic sun heroes. One name is remarkable, Zoroaster, as he was the eponymous hero of the Babylonians as Abraham was of the Jews. Zoroaster in its older form, Zerdusht, comes from the Persian Zer, gold, and Tasht, a disk, that is the golden disk of the sun. Abram or Abraham is exactly a similar instance, and it is remarkable that he is said to have dwelt in Ur of the Chaldees, where was a celebrated college and temple of the Zoroastrian sun and fire worship. Abram came out of Ur of the Kasdim. The fire god of Ur was Ab, father, Ram, most high, in other words Abram, Brahma in India. The sun is Brahma, Zeus and Apollo. The numerical Kabbalah of the Jews identifies, by the letter numbers, Abram with Brahma. Abram and Brahma are both names connected with the Jebus. It is also possible that by these Sabians believing on Abraham the Brahmins are meant, of whom many Mohammedans asserted, misled by similarity of name, that they are followers of the patriarch Abraham. It is much more probable that Abraham is Brahma, and that the Christians are the ones misled by too slavish a credence of Jewish fables. The sun is Brahma. It is Brahma, the supreme soul. The sun is Brahma. This is certain truth revealed in the sacred Misnods, and in various other divisions of the Vedas. The birth of Brahma seems to be, in India, exactly what Osiris, or the sun, was in Egypt. The sun at night, and in the west, is Vishnu. He is Brahma in the east, in the morning, and from noon to evening, Shiva. The three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, form what is called the Triumvirate, or Hindu triad. These three gods are regarded as the same deity. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva were the heat, light, and flame of the sun. Brahma is described of a black, Vishnu of a red, and Shiva of a white complexion. The Egyptians also represented the sun as a man, and they dressed him up in a flame-colored robe. They also represent Osiris black, Typhon red, and Horus white. The temple of Saturn among the Sabians was hexagonal, made of black stone, hung with black curtains. His image was that of a black old Hindu, who has an axe in his hand. Abraham, Brahman, Ab, means heart, Ra, means sun, and Ham means black, or the heart of the black sun. Alchemically, Abraham means heart of the black sun. Moreover, astronomically Abraham is the sun measure and a portion of the sun, while Enoch is the solar year. Enoch ages 365 years. Enoch also writes 365 books. This corresponds remarkably well with solar symbolism, and the days of our solar year. It is the opinion of some learned writers, that the sun was worshipped under the name of Saturn. Servius says, that the Assyrians worshipped Saturn under the name of Bel, and that the sun and Saturn are the same. It is certainly a well-founded idea, that Bel or Belus, the great god of the Chaldeans, was the sun. This is asserted by Macrobius. But to revert to the real fact as to Abraham, his birthday was at the autumn equinox, hour 21st of September. Saturn is Seb, and I find reasons for placing him at the autumn equinox, diametrically opposite to Osiris. According to Prela, Chronos is connected with Kraino, to fulfill, to bring to completion. The harvest month, the month of ripening and fulfillment, was called Chronion in some parts of Greece, and the jolly harvest feast, with its memory of Saturn's golden days, was named Chronia. The sickle of Cronus, the sickle of harvest time, works in well with the explanation of Abraham being the son of the autumn equinox. And they further prayed to Saturn, "Give us this day our daily bread." Because the very name of Saturn was derived from the word satu, to sow, as corn is sown in the earth, and Satyr, the sower, and Saturn it was, who was believed in that happy golden age, to have taught mankind the arts of agriculture, and to raise their bread out of the earth, agreeably to which conceit, they represented him with his sickle or scythe in his hand, wherewith to cut down the corn.
God said to Abraham, "Kill me a son." Abe says, "Man, you must be putting me on." God say, "No." Abe say, "What?" God say, "You can do what you want, Abe, but the next time you see me coming, you better run."
We now approach the most remarkable act of Abraham's whole life, the attempted assassination of his only son Isaac, and this simply by the command of God. The analogy between this and the crucifixion of the Savior is readily seen, but of this in its proper place. Having prepared all things necessary and marched within 3 days 3 months' journey of the place pointed out by God, Aries setting, he left his 2 servants, the spring equinox and summer solstice, with his ass. The ass, a star so named, is in Cancer, where the summer solstice occurs, while he, the sun, and Isaac, summer, went forward. Poor Isaac wondered where was the sacrifice, but his father assured him all was right, that God, Aries setting, would provide it, and so he did, for he, God, the ram, zodiacal, was the sacrifice, and Isaac, summer, as well. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. Wonder what the poor boy thought of his pious daddy, when he saw the glittering blade poised above him. But the Lord called, and Abraham looked, and behold, a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. Aries was then setting head first, which he seized and offered instead of his son. Thus, as the sun went down below the fall equinox, were the Lord, Abraham, the autumn sun, God, Aries, and Isaac, summer sun, and all the rest of them sacrificed and pitched into hell, winter, together. But if the story of Abraham was an allegory, the story of Christ would have to be an allegory, as he was the seed of Abraham.